The President has spoken about the extension of AGOA to be mutually beneficial towards the United States of America and the African continent, in particular speaking up on the beneficiation of Africa's minerals, saying that we can no longer just be exporting commodities to the international markets, but there must be beneficiation, that we must produce and have finished products that are exported. I'm going to bring in the KATU President, Mrs. Zingiswalosi, just to essentially speak on the President calling for the extension of AGOA. As Labour and as the biggest federation in the country, where do you as KATU stand with the extension of AGOA?
Thank you very much. We do support. You will recall that we've been to Washington in December last year, and we went to Washington again with the Minister of Trade and Industry this year in pursuing that we should find an amicable way of ensuring that we get AGOA, hosting it, but also for it to be extended for the next 10 years, because we do understand how we have managed to have 45,000 jobs being created, but also it is not just for South Africa, but it is for the African continent as a whole, as the President has alluded to how Botswana and Lesotho are also making a contribution to the economy of South Africa, and how then AGOA, the exports that we make in the auto manufacturing industry, is beneficial not just to South Africa, but to the continent as a whole.
One of your industrial unions, the NUM, National Union of Mine Workers, is within the industrial sector. Rocks, raw materials that the NUM is getting at the belly of the heart of our land is being exported currently as commodities. Where do you see the beneficiation that is now being called upon by the President, which is not the first time called, by the way? It was then called by the then once youth formation of the governing party in the country in 2012.
Look, this is exactly why KATU said that when we went on the on the campaign ensuring that we get AGOA, we said part of what we need to do is to enhance already the trade relations that we have in relation to the sectors that we're operating under. Part of beneficiation is what KATU is raising, that we cannot afford to export the number of commodities in the capacity that we do outside this country, because in order for us to create jobs and grow this economy, it has to be about beneficiation, and it's also that's how we will be able to create employment in South Africa, but also for the African continent. So we do support it. We are happy also that for the first time in AGOA that we have a forum of labor and civil society. And we think engagements now are going to be more meaningful and more impactful, because the voice of labor now is going to be impactful into how we move forward beyond 2025.
If you look at AGOA, it disseminated the poultry industry within South Africa. African rainbow chickens, if you go throughout the coastal belt to Durban, that KATU Ridge area, it was totally disseminated. Those factories totally wiped out. How do you ensure that you don't get a scenario where inferior chickens are then dumped on the African market and our own markets within poultry are then killed?
We strongly support, firstly, the master plans in our sectors, and we think that our engagement and also our active participation in the economy as trade unions is going to be critical, because we cannot expect that business is going to do it on our behalf. We have to ensure that we are part of each and every process in terms of production and what we export and what we import. That is why we are very proud of SABC, for an example, the Clothing and Textile and Manufacturing Union that is organizing in that sector, who is taking stock of everything that comes in and that goes out in the sector that they are organizing. We take responsibility as a trade union that we have to be involved. Otherwise, no one is going to do it for us.
Speaking about the textile industry, particularly knowing an area like Dimbaza in the Eastern Cape, which used to be a hub of the textile industry and manufacturing within the Eastern Cape. Dimbaza is a ghost town today. How do you make sure that an area like Dimbaza, a poor community like Dimbaza, benefits from this AGOA agreement and through using SABC?
We have to ensure that we participate in the master plans. When we were making when we were working in the exhibition centers, we heard small medium enterprises from the textile industry who were also saying that we are here as beneficiaries of the master plans. And we think if we are able to broaden the master plans and solidify them, we can be able to make Dimbaza what it used to be and not the reflection of itself of what it used to be. So we're saying that our participation in the master plan is going to be critical as the Labour Federation and also the trade unions in different sectors of our economy.
Thank you very much, President. Kwazimanzi, can you just take your camera off the tripod? It's going to be a bit shaky. I'm going to ambush Mr. Lungile Fuzile. He doesn't want to speak, but he's going to speak here today because he is from Standard Bank and they are one of the sponsors. Mr. Fuzile, just the essence of Standard Bank sponsoring AGOA and pushing for the longer and lengthier extension of AGOA.
At Standard Bank, we call Africa our home, and we pride ourselves for driving her growth. We use our balance sheet accordingly. We deploy it in 20 countries on the African continent that account for the largest proportion of GDP of the continent. Therefore, encouraging industrialization on the continent, job creation, and trade is at the front and center of what we're about.
Mr. Fuzile, when you look at industrialization, particularly knowing that it's being pushed here at AGOA, knowing the challenges that this country faces, you as Standard Bank, are you going to be comfortable releasing your balance sheet, knowing that the country is faced with an energy crisis, knowing that manufacturing will be affected, knowing that industrialization will also be affected, which will have an impact on beneficiation of the raw minerals from the belly of our earth?
We're very pragmatic, Samkel. We already have made a public commitment that between now and 2026, we will be mobilizing no less than 300 billion rand towards renewable energy. That excludes further resources that we deploy to other forms of energy to sustain the old technologies. So without a doubt, right now, as you might be aware, of the 28 billion or so that is usually available, 4 billion megawatts is already from renewables. A substantial proportion of that has been funded by no less than Standard Bank.
Mr. Fuzile, when you're looking at AGOA currently, it's been largely beneficial towards the United States of America. As Standard Bank South Africa, how would you be pushing for the lengthier term of AGOA to be beneficial to the local market within South Africa and the African continent's economy?
We must invest across the board. We must invest in education. We must invest in relevant technologies so that we can have the productive capacity, as the President Ramaphosa was saying, that will enable us as a country to take full advantage of AGOA and the extension thereof. We have, if we win the extension, then we've got ourselves to blame if we don't take full advantage of it. And I think that we are so alive to the need for our country on the back of an extended AGOA to industrialize, create jobs, trade more with the continent, trade more with the US.
I see that Mr. Sim Shabalala is in the United States of America currently. What is Standard Bank looking at strengthening those relations between Standard Bank and the United States of America? What is its core business in the United States currently?
For several years, Standard Bank with the JSE and Credit Suisse have sponsored what is called SA Tomorrow, which brings together policymakers from South Africa, government ministers, you saw Minister Gordon there, the Central Bank, the Reserve Bank, and of course JSE listed corporates from South Africa to go to the United States to woo investors, to attract foreign direct investment into South Africa. Now that is very important because what you want is to make sure that people understand the value proposition of South Africa as an investment destination.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lungile Fuzile of Standard Bank. We are going to also try and don't stop the president. I don't know if we're going to be allowed, but I'm going to try my luck here and greet the president. Mr. President, how are you? Just 2 minutes. Are you fine, Mr. President?
I'm fine. Let's go outside.
Okay, I'll grab you outside, Mr. President. I'm coming to you. That is, we're trying to speak to the president there, but his legal team. His team is trying to stop us. Vincent Magwenya, can we just grab the president on his speech here at AGOA, the extension of AGOA? What are the periods that he's looking at? The lengthy periods? No, we'll grab him. Kwazi, come this side, come this side. We'll try and grab the president here as he goes out. We won't be stopped by Vincent Magwenya. He will at some point hopefully agree to try and speak to us here, Eldrin, at the SABC, as we're trying to push those questions at what are the lengthy periods that he is looking at for the extension of AGOA. We are being pushed by his security, but hopefully he will agree. We will ask him those questions. Yes, President. President, just two questions. What are the lengthy periods that you are looking at for the extension of AGOA from a pragmatic point of view?
Well, many businesses would like to have forward planning, and many of them have 5-year plans. And so, for me, it's not inconceivable that we should think about an AGOA that could be extended for a much longer period rather than to be reviewed every year. I think that's what's important, because businesses are then able to plan, they are able to do business plans, investment decisions that could be more lengthier. And then they can build factories with confidence that they will have offtake agreements, because what often happens with businesses is that if you have a market, you have an offtake agreement, it becomes a lot easier for you to build more capacity, to build factories, and to produce more products.
Won't you be affected negatively, Mr. President, due to the energy crisis that's there in the country, particularly when you speak of beneficiation, which involves industrialization, manufacturing, which requires a lot of electricity as well?
Well, we are addressing the energy challenges and security that we face, and I've spoken to some of the manufacturers who produce steel and aluminium, and they say they have been able to recalibrate their own manufacturing processes within the constraints. Now, as we move out of the broad energy constraints and challenges, we are going to have more energy on the grid, and they are going to find it a lot easier to produce their goods and beneficiate. And as I was saying, we want our continent, countries right across the continent, to be able to mine, produce their minerals, beneficiate them on site, and be able to manufacture products that are needed and can be bought in any part of the world. I think we are already on that journey. The level of awareness and consciousness is rising, and it's good that many leaders have been raising this issue very strongly and pointedly. The more we talk about it, the more the world, even investors, will awaken to it and know that as a condition we would like, as they extract minerals, that should be accompanied by beneficiation.
How dire is the financial situation of the country? Is the government running out of money?
No, the Minister of Finance presented a very balanced medium-term policy budget statement. And through that, those who have taken the trouble to analyze it properly, they can see that the minister has created that balance. We are not going to be just taking money away from the key services, education, health, and frontline services. There are programs that will be scaled back. And as we scale back those programs, as our revenue rises, we are able to gear them up again. So it's a balanced budget, and we look forward to our economy improving. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. That was the President of the country speaking to us here at the SABC on matters pertaining to the budget speech, matters pertaining to his speech at AGOA and to the extension of AGOA, Eldrin, and beneficiation.